Clang! The crisp sound of a bone china plate slamming onto the granite countertop pierced the twilight of Houston like an icicle. Marjorie clutched the corner of her apron, stained with gravy, her thin knuckles white with tension. Tears welled perfectly in her blue eyes and rolled down, dripping onto the faded floral blouse she deliberately put on, the one belonging to Ethan's late grandmother, which she wore every time she wanted to reason things out. Lena, I just asked you to boil an extra potato. Ethan's loved them since he was a kid. How could you just slap down your chopsticks like that? Do you think this old woman is in the way? The knife and fork in my hand froze mid-air. The rich aroma of seared steak was instantly replaced by an awkward, acrid tension. Lena's fingers tightened around her chopsticks, her knuckles also whitening. She took a deep breath and spoke in a steady voice, Mom, I didn't slap down my chopsticks, I just knocked them against the placemat. Besides, I cooked sweet potatoes. Ethan had his checkup last week and his blood sugar is a bit high. The doctor suggested cutting back on refined carbs. High blood sugar. Marjorie's voice suddenly rose, as if she'd heard the most absurd thing. I raised Ethan for 30 years. He's loved munching on potatoes since he was little. How come once you're in the picture, he can't eat this or that anymore? Do you just not want him to be comfortable? She turned to me, tears streaming faster. Ethan, look at your wife. I was just kindly reminding her, and she talks back to me like this. I'm just an old woman with one foot in the grave, no one cares about me, no one looks after me. What's the point of living? My temples throbbed violently. I put down my knife and fork and stood up, instinctively reaching out to pat Marjorie's back to soothe her, a reflex I developed over 30 years. But Lena gently tugged at the corner of my shirt then, her eyes filled with disappointment and a determination I couldn't quite read. Ethan, just listen to me first, her voice was soft but clear. I bought fresh potatoes this morning. Mom said to save them for next week's mashed potatoes and told me to use sweet potatoes instead. Now that I made sweet potatoes, she's accusing me of not letting you eat potatoes. You're lying. Marjorie shot to her feet, her apron sweeping across the table and knocking over a glass of milk. When did I ever say that? Lena, how could you make up such lies to slander me? I'm just a poor old woman. My son marries a wife and forgets his mother, and now no one even believes the truth anymore. She covered her face and squatted down, her shoulders heaving. Her sobs sounded like a broken bellows, drifting through the dining room's sliding glass door and out onto Cedar Street. A neighbor's light flickered on just then, and the curtain moved slightly. I knew, tomorrow morning, Marjorie would definitely be holding her cat Biscuit, gossiping with those old ladies at the corner cafe about how my wife was disrespectful to her elders. Lena, just stop talking, I frowned and helped Marjorie to her feet. She immediately leaned against me, like a child who'd suffered a terrible wrong. Mom's getting on in years, her memory isn't good. What's wrong with letting her have her way a little? Lena's hand suddenly dropped from my shirt. She looked at me, the light in her eyes dimming little by little. Let her have her way, she repeated, a note of self-mockery in her voice. Ethan, this is the 5th time this month. Last time, she hid my birth control pills, saying she wanted a grandchild. I explained we have our own plans, and she turned around and told you I don't want to continue your family line. The week before last, she rummaged through my closet and used my brand new silk blouse as a rag, saying women who wear such expensive clothes are wasteful. When I argued with her, she sat on the floor crying, claiming I looked down on her for being poor. And last week? Enough. I cut her off, growing irritable. Those are all trivial things. Mom didn't mean any harm. She raised me all by herself, it wasn't easy. Just endure it a little longer, and it'll pass. Endure? Lena laughed, tears spilling from her eyes. Ethan, I've endured this for a whole year. Ever since she moved in the day we got married, I've been enduring. She bangs on our bedroom door at 6 every morning, saying young people should get up early to exercise, then turns around and replaces the breakfast I made with her oatmeal, drenched in 3 spoonfuls of sugar. She sneaks into our bedroom while I'm at work, reads my diary, goes through my makeup, and even gave away the perfume I saved up for months to buy to her niece. She tells my friends I can't do housework and spend money recklessly. And now, even when I cook you a healthy meal, she accuses me of wrongdoing. Lena! I raised my voice. How can you talk about Mom like that? She's just worried about us. Richard, my quiet, reserved father, had been sitting at the other end of the table, silent the entire time. He finally put down his newspaper, adjusted his reading glasses, glanced at Marjorie, then at me, and finally turned his gaze to Lena. The milk spilled, he said flatly. Clean it up. With that, he stood up, took his newspaper, and went back to his room. The sound of the door closing was as light as a feather, yet it made the atmosphere in the dining room even more oppressive. Seeing I was on her side, Marjorie's sobs gradually subsided. She took my hand and choked out, "Ethan, look, even your father knows I've been wronged. If only Lena were half as sensible as you. I don't ask for much, I just want our family to be harmonious. Is that so wrong?" Lena said nothing. She silently picked up a rag, squatted down, and began wiping the spilled milk. Her back looked so thin, and she wiped slowly, as if cleaning up shards of broken glass. That night, Lena moved into the guest room. I wanted to knock on her door, but Marjorie stopped me. "Son, don't spoil her, she's just throwing a tantrum. She'll come to you when she comes to her senses. If you go coddling her now, she'll only get more pushy later." I hesitated, then finally went back to the master bedroom. Lying in bed, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Lena's disappointed eyes kept flashing before me, along with the way her shoulders had trembled slightly as she wiped the floor. The next morning, when I got up, Lena had already left for work. Marjorie was making breakfast in the kitchen, the smell of fried eggs wafted over. She wore a magnanimous smile. "Ethan, I made breakfast for Lena too. Take it to her office for me, will you? Tell her I might have spoken a bit harshly yesterday, tell her not to take it to heart." I looked at the plate of burnt fried eggs in her hand and the coffee next to it, heaped with a full spoonful of sugar. A knot formed in my stomach. Lena had never liked burnt food, and with her gastric ulcer, she couldn't drink coffee that sweet. I took the breakfast to Lena's office. She worked as an interior designer at a design firm. When I walked in, she was discussing a project with a client, wearing a professional smile, completely different from the wronged, disappointed woman I'd seen the night before. She came over only after the client left, took the breakfast from me, and set it on a side table. "Thanks, but I already ate." Her tone was calm, giving away no emotion. "Lena, I'm sorry. I was wrong yesterday, I shouldn't have let you be wronged like that." I looked at her, apologizing sincerely. "Mom's just the way she is. Don't take it personally." Lena looked at me and smiled. "Ethan, it's not that I'm taking it personally, I'm just tired. I married you because I wanted to build a warm home with you, not to live in constant quarrels and suspicion. You always say Mom had it hard, but what about me? I'm exhausted from work every day, and when I come home, I have to deal with all her nitpicking and self-pity. You've never once truly stood in my shoes." I opened my mouth, but had no words to say. Lena was right, I always instinctively defended Marjorie because she was my mother, the woman who'd raised me alone. I remembered when I was little, after Dad's business failed, he became quiet and withdrawn, and all the responsibility of the family fell on Marjorie's shoulders. She worked 2 jobs, cashier at the supermarket during the day, dishwasher at a restaurant at night. To buy me a new pair of sneakers, she skimped and saved for a month. Back then, I swore that when I grew up, I'd take good care of her. But I never imagined that this filial piety would become a weapon to hurt Lena. "Ethan, I'm giving you time, and I'm giving myself time too." Lena's voice was soft but firm, with no room for doubt. "If things don't change soon, I think we might need to re-evaluate our relationship." My heart tightened, and I grabbed her hand. "Lena, don't say that. I'll change, I promise I'll talk to Mom properly." That night, when I got home, I made a point of talking to Marjorie. I didn't accuse her, I just gently told her that Lena was exhausted from work, and I hoped she'd be more considerate and stop picking on her. Marjorie listened quietly at first, but halfway through, tears started falling. Ethan, don't you love me anymore now? Just because of that woman, you're starting to look down on me. I worked so hard to raise you, and now that you're married, you've forgotten all the good I did for you. She burst into loud sobs again, wailing about her miserable fate and how unfilial I was. Looking at her like that, all the words I'd prepared got stuck in my throat. In the end, I was the one apologizing. Over the next few days, Marjorie seemed to hold back a bit, no longer deliberately picking fights with Lena. I thought things would gradually get better, but I never expected it to be the calm before the storm. That weekend, Lena's younger sister Emily came to visit from New York. Emily was a lively, outgoing girl. As soon as she walked in, she gave Marjorie a set of expensive skincare products. Marjorie's face lit up with a grin. She held Emily's hand, asking endless questions, overflowing with enthusiasm. Lena and I both breathed a sigh of relief, thinking we'd finally have a nice, peaceful gathering. For dinner, Marjorie cooked a whole table of dishes and even opened a bottle of red wine. Throughout the meal, she kept piling food onto Emily's plate. Emily, you're so much more sensible than your sister, you know how to care for your elders. Unlike Lena, who's been married into this family for a year and has never bought me a single gift. She's always making me angry. Emily froze for a moment, glanced at Lena, and smiled. Aunt Marjorie, Lena has bought you lots of things. Just last time, she told me she got you a cashmere coat because she knows you get cold in winter. Marjorie's expression flickered, but she quickly recovered her smile. Oh, that coat? The color's too bright. I'm an old woman now, I can't wear something like that. It's just sitting in my closet. Besides, good intentions are one thing, but actions are another. If Lena were really filial, she'd spend more time with me instead of trying to fob me off with material things. Lena's fingers tightened around her chopsticks, but she said nothing. Emily, however, couldn't hold back. Aunt Marjorie, Lena cooks for you and cleans the house every night after work. How is that not spending time with you? It's you who goes to the cafe to chat with your friends every morning and watches soap operas all afternoon. When Lena tries to talk to you, you even say she's annoying. How dare you talk to me like that, young lady? Marjorie's face darkened completely. I'm your elder, who do you think you are, lecturing me? Is this how Lena raised you? Teaching you to talk back to your elders? She turned to me, tears welling again. Ethan, look at this is Lena's nice sister. She dares to talk to me like this right in front of you. Who knows how she'd bully me when no one's around? I'm just a poor old woman. Mom, that's enough. This time, instead of comforting her like I always did, I frowned and cut her off. Emily's just telling the truth. You really were out of line. Marjorie froze, as if she couldn't believe I'd said that. She stared at me blankly, forgetting to cry. After a long moment, she finally snapped back to her senses and shrieked, Ethan. You're actually helping an outsider bully me? I'm your mother. How could you do this to me? She slammed her hand on the table, flipping over her plate, food spilled all over the floor. I don't want to live anymore. I'm going to jump in the river right now. She yelled as she ran toward the door. Instinctively, I reached out to chase after her, but Lena held me back. Don't go. She won't really jump, her voice was calm. Every time she makes a scene like this, it's just to make you give in. Ethan, you can't keep indulging her like this. Sure enough, when Marjorie reached the door and saw I wasn't chasing her, she stopped. She stood there, sniffling and calling out, Ethan, come hold me. I'm dizzy. Marjorie carried on making a fuss until midnight that night, and only quieted down after Richard snapped at her. Richard rarely spoke, but when he did, Marjorie still had some respect for him. He looked at me and said, Ethan, you're married now, you need to have a mind of your own. Marjorie is your mother, but Lena is your wife. You can't keep letting Lena be wronged. It was the first time I'd ever heard Dad say something like that, and it hit me hard. From that point on, I tried to change. When Marjorie deliberately picked on Lena again, I no longer blindly defended her. Instead, I tried to objectively judge right from wrong. At first, Marjorie kicked up an even bigger fuss, crying and wailing, calling me unfilial and saying Lena had bewitched me. But I didn't back down. I patiently talked to her, explaining how hard Lena worked and how we needed space for our own lives. Slowly, Marjorie's temper mellowed a bit. She still played the victim occasionally, but she no longer pushed things as far as before. But I never expected Marjorie to do something even more outrageous. Lena had been busy bidding for a big project lately, coming home late every night, stressed out. To help her relax, I bought her a massage device. That evening, when Lena got home from work, she couldn't find it. She thought she'd just misplaced it and searched everywhere, but it was nowhere to be found. Later, she spotted it in Marjorie's room. Marjorie was using it to massage her cat Biscuit. Lena was furious on the spot. She confronted Marjorie about taking her things. But Marjorie looked completely unrepentant. It's just a massage device, what's the big deal? So I used it on Biscuit. Biscuit's part of this family too, isn't she? Can't she use your stuff? Besides, you're so busy with work every day, when would you even have time for it? I'm just using it for you, so it doesn't go to waste. Lena was trembling with anger. She snatched the massage device back. Ethan bought this for me, it's mine. You have no right to use my things without asking. Your things? Marjorie scoffed. Once you married into this family, your things became family property. I can use them whenever I want. She started crying again. Ethan, look at your wife, she's yelling at me over a stupid massage device. I'm just a poor old woman, not even worth as much as a cat. This time, I didn't hesitate. I looked Marjorie straight in the eye and said seriously, Mom, Lena's right. That's her things, you can't use them without her permission. If you want a massage device, I'll buy you one. But you have to apologize to Lena. Marjorie stared at me in disbelief. Ethan, you want me to apologize to her? I'm her mother-in-law, how could I apologize to her? No matter who you are, if you do something wrong, you need to apologize. My voice was firm. Mom, if you refuse to apologize, then I have to ask you to move out. We need our own space. Your constant interference is only hurting our marriage. Marjorie froze. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face, but this time, they weren't the fake, pitiful tears of before. There was real panic and disbelief in her eyes. Ethan, you're really going to kick me out? I'm not kicking you out, I just want you to respect our lives. My tone softened a little as I looked at her. If you can fix your bad habits, if you can respect Lena and our life together, you're more than welcome to stay. But if you keep acting like this, then we have to live separately. Richard spoke up from the side too. Marjorie, Ethan's right. You need to change. The kids have their own lives, you can't keep meddling in them. Marjorie was silent for a long time. Finally, she hung her head and said to Lena, Lena, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have taken your things, and I shouldn't have kept picking on you. Lena looked at her, surprise and a hint of relief in her eyes. She shook her head. Mom, it's okay. Just as long as you respect me and our life together from now on. From that day on, Marjorie really changed a lot. She no longer deliberately picked fights with Lena, no longer used her things without permission, and no longer played the victim at every turn. She even found hobbies for herself. She went for walks in the park every morning, took painting classes at the community senior center every afternoon, and sometimes even discussed painting techniques with Lena. The atmosphere at home grew warmer and warmer, no more quarrels, no more suspicion. Once, Lena and I were watching TV in the living room when Marjorie came over with a plate of fruit. She set it down in front of us and smiled. Ethan, Lena, have some fruit. Lena, that art exhibition you mentioned, I checked, it's on this weekend. Shall we go together? Lena looked at her in surprise, then smiled. Sure, Mom. Let's go together. Watching the two of them chatting amicably, my heart was filled with warmth. I knew that this change wouldn't have been possible without Lena's persistence and tolerance, or my own growth. Once, I thought filial piety meant satisfying every demand my mother made, no matter what. I ignored Lena's feelings completely. Now I understand, true filial piety isn't blind defense. It's learning to balance the relationship between my mother and my wife, so that our whole family can live in harmony and happiness. The Houston sunset streamed through the window, warming us all. The thorns on Cedar Street had been cleared away together, and now the warm sun shone down on us. I knew that as long as our family respected and tolerated each other, our lives would only get better and better.